Hello out there, you lovely listener, you. How you doing? So this episode is coming out late. It's Wednesday, July 1st. Canada Day to some. My mind has been elsewhere this week. I may have talked about this before on the program, but I'm not somebody who can really bank a lot of episodes and like plan out a season and then release it. I find if I do that, the whole thing is theoretical and never gets done. I never want to deal with it. Perhaps that's a symptom of ADHD. So for this week, I thought I would do what I have done in the recent past when I didn't have an episode to deliver and sing you a song. I also figured like I could scramble to find a guest, record it, edit it, release it for this week, or just kind of chill out this week. My mind has definitely been elsewhere following developments with the Halifax pop explosion. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you can check out their Instagram for all the details. Full disclosure, I used to work there. I can see from here a poster I had when I was a staff member there. They have given my band, Glory, a bunch of opportunities. I played Alderney Landing as part of a festival they put together. I played their stage at North by Northeast. We opened for bands like Colorado and Tokyo Police Club. However, at this point in time, my view of their current situation is this is what happens when systems fail people. And without getting into it too much, I think my point is proven when you look at where are the passionate defenders of the Halifax pop explosion at this point. The board released a statement. Nobody signed their name to it. It just says the board and executive. So we've got an incident where something has happened. The festival has owned up to some harm they've caused. You could call it some wrongdoing, I suppose. There have been a lot of calls for accountability on their part on social media. And if we look at the incident in question, which I'm not going to get into it right now, I wasn't there. You can kind of piece it together. Maybe we'll talk about this in the future. But you have a situation caused by a bunch of pieces of an organization that were supposed to be working together that didn't. They conspired. They came together to cause a problem. You have an instance of somebody who was on staff acting in a manner that is not appropriate for a workplace. Allegedly. Again, I wasn't there. You have a situation where somebody's being protected because of who they are, and not unlike a situation where maybe big banks are getting bailed out or something where, like, yes, they did wrong, but they're the only ones who know how to run the system. They're the best at it, so we got to just do whatever they want because we can't afford to lose these people. But again, I say this is how systems fail people because you also look at the organization. This is a festival that started in the early 90s as a small local emerging music festival, kind of a grassroots thing. Where are all the local artists saying, this is our festival, this is our community, we can do better? This is on us. There doesn't seem to be a whole lot of ownership felt by the local the local music community. And I'm going to say that's not just on the festival itself. I would say that part of the reason for that is as it's grown in ways that are in keeping with other festivals of its nature, but the standard business practice. Here's what I mean. If you're a local band and you play one of these festivals, maybe it's Halifax Pop Explosion, maybe it's North by Northeast, maybe it's Pop Montreal, whatever. You are applying to play. You're paying a submission fee. That's just for somebody to take the time to look at and consider your application. Supposing you get booked by the festival, generally, you can expect to get paid $100 if you get paid at all. Maybe you just get paid in wristbands, which, cool, you have access to, you can get into any of the shows for free, subject to capacity and all that. And it's the way a lot of them work. And, arguably your first time, maybe even your first couple of times, you get a foot in the door, you get put in front of you get to play to a crowd that you didn't have to draw yourself. You get to open for a more established artist, maybe. You get to interact with those people. You get to, if you really know how to capitalize on it, you can get in there. No, you're not really getting paid the first time, but the point is that you are present and you can build a bigger, better opportunity for yourself through your own hustle. That's maybe what the model is. I'm not sure. The reality is, and I will say that Pop Explosion has, in the last couple of years, attempted to do better. They have increased the local artist pay. But generally, you've got a situation where you have headliners who are being paid thousands and thousands of dollars, and you have local artists opening for those more established artists who are getting paid $100 if they're getting paid at all. And the reality is that festivals can't afford. This is the only way they can afford to operate. You might play to a packed house, and especially at a bigger venue. Like you might play to several hundred people for your $100. You may have traveled from another province, and there are supports available. You can apply to Factor. They will subsidize your travel costs of showcasing if you're traveling far enough. But still, you have a situation where smaller artists are paying to be there. They are performing for, they're working for less than their, can I say it's less than their worth? Can I say that's unfair? If it's pure supply and demand. Because here's the other thing. Here's why it's the way it is. And this is the thing that a lot of artists don't realize, is that you are never going to make the jump from the the $100 artist to the $10,000, $20,000 artist, just by playing the festival and really hustling locally. The only way that you are going to make that leap is by having clout and leverage. If you get yourself to the point where you're touring and you are regularly making $5,000, let's say, as an entry point, then you can go to the festival because you don't need them and they have to pay your rate if they want you to play. At that point, you are the draw. But it's about your leverage. It's not about you being recognized for your hustle in the local community and being rewarded for that. That doesn't happen. And again, I would say that, this is not unique to an organization like the Halifax Pop Explosion. It's standard practice. This doesn't make them corrupt. It makes them competitive, or in some cases, it makes them able to exist. Because the other challenge that festival faces is they are an emerging music festival. Everybody wants to grow every year. Costs have risen for artists. Popular music trends have changed. Their demographic is, aging out. The people who went to shows in 2005 are not the same people who are going now. So they need to find artists that are relevant to their audience, affordable within their budget, willing to come to Halifax in October, and can sell tickets. And then on top of that, they have they're trying to be responsible, trying to book a more diverse lineup. And it's not easy, obviously, as we've seen, to fit all of those pieces, all of those competing demands into one thing. However, I don't know who said this, so I'm not going to be able to credit it properly, but any organization, their first priority, their job number one for any organization, doesn't matter who you are, job number one is to keep yourself going. So the problem that the Halifax Pop Explosion has run into is, in this effort to keep itself going and, we're trying to do this, we're trying to be this, you end up with a situation of, who is the festival for? It doesn't seem to be for the local music community, the local community of musicians. It's not serving their interests, really. They can't get paid. They can't use it as a springboard to bigger things. They can, use it as an opportunity to get on a big stage and play for a bigger crowd. You can use that as practice. But it certainly is not something that the local music community seems to feel like they have much of a stake in. It's more like you apply, and if you're lucky, you get chosen. And I lived in Nova Scotia. We planned around Pop Explosion for years. Fall was Pop Explosion and Nova Scotia Music Week. They're 2 weeks apart. Two big events that you always hope could catapult you on to the next thing. But I don't know. Maybe it happened in my case and I'm just taking it for granted. I don't think it did. And that's on us for not knowing and not figuring out. It's not somebody else's job to make my band successful. If they put on this event, they bring a bunch of people in, they educate you, they put a crowd in front of you. It is your job to figure out how to make that crowd your crowd. I think what happens, particularly in a place like Nova Scotia, where we've got a lot of resources thrown at one or two events, and you are remote, there's less stuff that comes through. There is a lot more riding on those couple events than there would be in a place like Toronto, where like you can not play North by Northeast, not play Canadian Music Week as a, opener band, and you can still build your thing up. You could get signed to a major label without doing any of those things. You'd have hits. That's already happened. The showcasing festivals. But so at this point, I've seen a lot of calls for accountability from local musicians, local arts organizations, artists across the country. I haven't seen a single passionate defense. I've seen, admissions that the festival itself needs to do better. But what's really striking to me in all of this is that the people who have an issue are very clear about who they are and how they've been wronged. The people on the other side of it have not been clear whatsoever. And I think it's partially, it's like, it's an admission of guilt. It's, we don't know what to do. We don't want to make a statement that can then be used against us if we're not absolutely sure. It's like once you start to operate like a PR firm or something, you don't want to say something that someone can then use against you. And again, I worked for the festival for a year. James, the executive director, who I understand until recently was the executive director, is a longtime friend. He's been a friend of my band for probably since about 2008. At the time that he was applying to take over the Pop Explosion in 2014, he was also helping my band, Glory Glory, coordinate the release of our So Long EP, which is like the most successful thing we ever did. What am I trying to say? I wasn't there. I'm not calling for people's resignations, but there are people who are. Oh, this is what I was going to say. I'm sure that I have friends on the board of directors. But so here you get a question of who is ultimately responsible. Is it the people who are working for the festival, for the week on a contract? Maybe it's a several months long contract. Maybe it's a 6-month contract. It's not their only gig. So they're responsible for their own actions. The board of directors, a bunch of unpaid volunteers. They have had 3 full-time staff when I worked there. And I mean, I was a, contract position paid for by EI, job creation program. And, it's like part of me doesn't want to say anything about it. I don't want to throw my friends under the bus. But that is how people like me become complicit. I didn't work for the festival in 2017 when these things happened. I didn't see any of it happen. To be honest, like the tech director who's at the center of 2 complaints now, Danny Thomas, my only interaction with him has been when I played the CBC Music Festival with Jen Grant in 2018. He was running monitors on the main stage where we played. It was the only time I ever met him. But it goes to show you the influence that somebody can have within the Canadian music industry. Or the connectedness, Fly to Toronto and here's a guy from the East Coast running the stage. Anyhow, these are my thoughts of the day. It's Canada Day, which when I was a kid meant a parade and somebody throwing candy. Maybe you had face paint and maybe you went to a concert. Maybe you went to see the fireworks. I'm sure there have been days where it's just been about becoming intoxicated I'm sure there have been years. Definitely when I used to work at a pub on the waterfront in Summerside, PEI, Canada Day was a big day. They would have entertainment on the boardwalk and a lot of people in there. So it was a moneymaker day. Today, it's so far just been like a day off work. And as I scroll my social media feed, I personally see a lot more people questioning colonialism, violence against indigenous people, land theft, those kinds of things than I see people, getting patriotic. So to that end, I'm going to leave a link in the show notes to a story from the National Post about John A. Macdonald and the establishment of the Indian Act. Canada's first Prime Minister, John A. Macdonald, of course, been the subject of a recent controversy about a statue of him in downtown Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island. They decided they're going to keep the statue up. I find the people getting upset about removal of statues really weird. Like, because it's erasing history or whatever. Like, do you need statues to remind you about everything? Like, how can you remember that something happened if you don't have a statue, That's why I have a statue to remind me about my wife's birthday. Got another statue to remind me when my phone bill's due. I got a statue celebrating the fact that I graduated high school. Someone's yelling at me. All right, here's a song I wrote. It is definitely a work in progress. I'm comfortable enough with the instruments, not so much the singing, definitely not the engineering. There's a lag time with digital recording that I'm really not sure how to get around. I don't know how to EQ and mix and master and compress things. Enjoy. What's up?
Sorry.
Why do I even try? Why do I? My oh my, why do I even try? Tomorrow's gonna come again and again. Tomorrow's gonna come again and again, yeah. You don't need to let it be. It's already who could be when nothing's free. Don't get too heavy. Tomorrow's gonna come again and again. Tomorrow's gonna come again and again, yeah.